Well, I'm telling you, JFK, more flights to more destinations, more frequently than any other airport around. Let's see if I can sell that to them. But as I was saying, I have the connection to the United Nations here. I was accredited. I had well, I still do have them, an agency that puts out my photography and everything. And so it actually opened my eyes. I learned quite a bit there. It was exciting. I'm sad that my daughter doesn't know this. I mean, I'd love to share that with her. Because as we all know, I mean, Lord knows what, our children are hearing, experiencing, and just the fact that we didn't raise them. I mean, that's very hellacious. But I've already reached out to some organizations. I've sent out letters to NGOs and everything. And like as an example, you may or may not know this. Brazil and Mexico, and some time ago, I think I put that in there. It's in the letter that's in the consulates. You'll see that, and I'll send that out to you. Just make a small donation to help me to continue on doing what I'm doing. It's criminal. Parental alienation is criminal. We've seen over in Scandinavian countries, they really push very hard for shared parenting. They're not getting a lot of this backlash because the arguments are always on the extremes. So why can't you stand in the corner waiting for that bus because in 1949 two people were run over by a raging bull? Some stupid stuff like that. And that's politics. And here comes another flight. So, being that it is politics, and the United States has not ratified or signed the Convention on the Rights of Children. Now, the South Sudan was the only other country with the members of the UN. I don't think the whole world has membership with the UN, but they haven't. And I think their situation or their pushback is we do just as well as this thing doing, and actually we're superior. Well, I can tell you, I've made complaints to the Department of Justice back in 2016 regarding these two agencies that are receiving federal funds and what they've done to my child and myself, and they've not responded. Back in October of 2016, I added on to that complaint with the DOJ Civil Rights Division, where they say that parental alienation is a form of domestic violence, and we have services for you, and we will help you. Well, they haven't helped me, and they haven't helped my daughter. What that means for us is that I've taken the steps. I have the documentation. Again, you'll see that in the letter. It's you can't just say, "Oh," that never works. It never works talking about talking. If you have something in paper, in writing, that you've submitted, tied it down, it's been memorialized. It's like, this is what I did do. Why aren't you doing what you're supposed to do or telling me what you're going to do? So this is where the pressure comes in. I can tell you, another flight. This is a big one too. Yeah, my next career, I'm going to work out at the airport identifying airplanes, and I'll let you know how that works out. But, I lost my train of thought. Right, so what's happening here is I kind of have a unique situation, which, in terms of my daughter being born in China, having some understanding and first-hand experience of the United Nations, making these outreaches or formal complaints to different bodies to have that paper trail. And that's what I want to mention. When I filed a complaint with the fraud unit, the Office of Inspector General of Fraud at the DOJ, I had to do it online, which was very good because it said, blah, 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 what did you do? And you'll see that there as well, too. So who did you tell? Did you tell anybody about this? Did you ask anybody else for help? And it's like, yes, I have. 25 U.S. senators. Yes, not only as senators, but in their position, and many of these are the senior senators, the chairman of like the Judiciary Committee and various committees. I gotta tell you, the very next day I got an email from the DOJ, Office of Inspector General. None of these senators have done anything for me. But with that knowledge, we'll call it, the DOJ decided to act. And you also see that letter. They said, oh, Mr. Sullivan, we talked to you about that in January. We talked to you about this. We're going to do this as a courtesy. But one thing I have learned is any kind of governmental agency you deal with, they give you some kind of an ID number, an index number. That's for them to track it. And it seems that when it moves from one area to another, even within the DOJ, it's going to need a different tracking number. So, using that little bit of insight, what I'm looking for also is a foreigner, a non-U.S. citizen, to file the complaint with the CRC on behalf of my daughter. What that does is gives immediate response, because right now this one at the human rights is going to take 6 months. They're going to go back and forth, and a lot of people say, well, nothing's going to happen, and that's just deflating. I know you can talk from experience, but there's also this sense of godliness that we can predict the future and stuff, and it just harms people. You need to be more realistic and rational of like, okay, in the past this is what's happening. What can we do to make sure you don't get shuffled out the back door? Okay, and where this will come in is that some of the people that I've been talking with and emailing and speaking to on the phone, I have one connection to a major, as a producer for a major network station here in New York. It's one of the major four. Oh, there's another one. Yeah. Okay, and then as I was looking, they sent me a link, and as I was looking into it, there was another thing for PR people and others that I didn't find out. It didn't say what the price was, but it would be very valuable to reach out to them and spend the money, because you can connect up with journalists and producers and stuff. I also know another producer from another major network. I was going to say it, but I won't. This woman producer. So rather than reaching out to them, which I've done, and I've done to whistleblowers in the past, about my story, which basically I'm going to tell you, my story, your story, nobody really cares. Or I wasn't able to make them care. I was able to get the Human Rights Commission to look, well, at least accept the letter. Chinese embassy hasn't done anything either. But how about this? If we get, and this is what I want to try to do, within the next 10 days, I want to get 25% of the goal, 1/4 of the goal. So that would be perhaps 400 people donating $5. Now think of this. If we had a formal letter, 400 parents. Now you got to realize, and I'm going to stop this here because I want to make sure I get this in.